Right now I am in the earth. Pretty crazy, huh, Coda? Alright, so anyway, we've got some stone at the bottom of these holes now. I'm just raking it as, giving it a rough grade, and this is for drainage at the bottom of the piers. We're going to rough grade these so they're roughly level, and then make sure they're about 4 feet from the site grade, and then we're gonna put our piers in. We're gonna level those with a water level. I'll talk about that later. And oh yeah, I'm tamping the stone with my handy dandy high-tech tamping tool. This is one of a kind. You won't find one of these guys in your tamping section of your hardware store. Yeah, super fancy. So anyway, tamping those, so giving it a nice pack, so when we set the pier down, it's on something solid, not sinking in, and then comes the backfilling and leveling. So that should be a lot of fun. Whew. So it's been a hot week. It's been like 80s or 90s all week. So we picked a good week to start shoveling a bunch of dirt. A lot of dirt. So we got all these holes to fill. We're starting to set the first post.
Feels real.
Yeah, it does.
It's happening.
So what we did to determine the position for this one was we just put it as close, because the holes they're rather big holes. So what we did is we just placed this pier as close as we can, because we want this line to be less than 24 feet, because that's the footprint. So if it's less than 20, if it's more than 24, then our cabin is not going to work out, because it's 16 by 24 feet. So we just put it as.
That rock near that is fine? You don't think that'll heat?
No, that rock, that's a tiny rock, it's fine. So we put this post as close as we could to this side of the hole, and then we measured across and made sure there was at least 24, or at most 24. And we ran a straight line from this post to make sure that every post is going to fall at least in a hole, because they're not in a perfect line, because when Alex was here, he had to position the excavator certain ways.
Well, I will say that guy had some skill. Everybody else said, "Oh, we're gonna have to make trenches," and we didn't want to pay for more work.
Right, because we're backfilling by hand. So.
Yeah, so he did it perfect.
Yeah, Alex was he was the man. So shout out.
Home with the plant. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, shout out to you, Alex. Thanks a lot, man. You did a great job. So we're gonna get to backfilling these, and maybe we'll shoot back when we have one or a couple of them done. Whew. All right, one post done. So we got a little bit more backfilling to do around the edges of the hole, but that's not super crucial. As long as this post here is nice and plumb. We're not worrying about if it's like super plumb, because the post tapers up anyway, so it's hard to get a really accurate read. And as long as when we cut this, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut these flush and level, and then we're using 2x8 sills on either side that we milled. So once this is cut level, we'll cut 2 little seats, kind of, you know what I mean, like here, and then cut up like that. So there'll be 2 little saddles for those 2x8s to sit in. And you can see here there's little holes, so there were like a bunch of bolts in these, but these 2 holes are way too far apart for 2x8s. So when we cut it level and we carve the notches, hopefully one of these holes will match up. If not, not a big deal. What we're going to do is drill straight through. We'll put the sills on, then we'll drill straight through the sill and the post. And what we can do is we'll put like 1/2-inch bolts, lags basically, through them, so that'll anchor the sills to the foundation, which will mean that the house isn't just sitting on the foundation, it's actually anchored to the foundation. And you know, it's anchored to all the weight of the soil here. And these things, they're not moving. I mean, well, the camera just moved, but yeah, they're not moving. So they're trying to think of any other specifics that might be helpful. The holes were 5 feet deep, around 5 feet. Some of them are more than 5 feet. And we put about a foot of gravel at the bottom, leveled that out, tamped it, so that adds some drainage. I think I already talked about that before in another shot, but just reviewing now. And so the posts are about 4 feet in. Bunch of the excavator operators we talked to when we were looking for people to come and dig said they never saw frost beneath 3 feet. So, and that's all in North Country too. But 4 feet is just to be safe. They're actually 5-foot holes just to be super safe, because we don't want this to move. We don't want it to heave. I've heard of some cabins in the North Country being put on piers, and then after 30 years or so, you know, the front of the cabin from heaves, or the back of the cabin, or whatever side, is like 9 inches higher than the other side. So hopefully, I guess the true test will be, you know, in a few years, 5, 10, however many years, when we have a kid and they're playing with a ball on the floor. If the ball rolls, then we know we didn't do a good enough job. If it's straight, then it's fine. So we're gonna get to setting the other posts.
So, show you a lot of the house building, but we never really show you much of a nursery and our plants. So, here are some chestnuts. This is their 2nd year growing. We started them from seed that we collected. And underneath them we have some baby butternuts coming up. And behind over there are mulberries. Here's a better example of a butternut. Here's something amazing to see. So these are all mulberries. We also started from seed. This goes to show you genetics. This one is huge compared to the rest. So I marked it because we want to plant it out and hopefully get seed from it or have it pollinate another one for seed if it becomes a male. This is our elderberry. A few little babies hanging on.
Cool. So don't mind the, the stoves in the background. This is the roads right here, so it was the easiest place to dump them. But we just wanted to show you guys how a lot of people ask, how do you guys fund your homesteading journey, or how do you guys get the money to buy the land and stuff like that. So basically we worked our butts off and we saved a bunch to get the land. We'll discuss that in another video. But aside from the nursery income, this is also partially how we make money from the land. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, the land is 12 acres, and about half, maybe 80% of that actually, is a lot of cedar forest, and a lot of it was logged before we got the land. So I would say 98% of all this stuff, along with all the stuff there and all the stuff you've seen in all the videos, that's all cedar wood. So we've been splitting it to make shingles. We use it for campfires outdoors. We can process some of it for firewood for the winter time. But in addition to all that, we also cut cedar fence posts. So we use cedar fence posts for our garden, not that garden, but another one. We used it for our goat yard, and lots of people use them for fencing, all over the Northeast and probably other parts of the country too. I don't really know because I've never been to other parts of the country. But they use cedar because it is incredibly rot resistant. So you can put, a cedar post into the ground, 1 to 2 feet, whatever, however you want to do it. So these are 5-foot posts for a custom order, but usually we cut 6 foot by default. We've cut 8-foot, 9-foot posts before. So yeah, basically you put them in the ground and they last they'll last like 30 years in the ground, something like that. Some of these, actually, this was all already downed. So there's another spot just down the road a piece. Maybe we'll show you that. Maybe we'll show you guys that in another clip to this video, but I'm sure you'll see it at some point. And this is 85 5-foot posts, and that took us maybe 4 hours to do all together. And we sell them for $3 a piece for these ones. So other ones we've charged, $10 a post because they were 9-foot, 6 inches in diameter posts, so they're huge, and some of those we had to cut fresh. But yeah, it's, just think about innovative ways to make money from your land. What do you have that other people need, or what do you have that other people can, can use? Do you have, I don't know, I hate to sound extractive, but do you have rocks? Do you have sand? Those are all extractive kind of ways to do it, and it's not something we would do, but all these were already laying down on the ground. And maybe instead of having 30 years in the ground, they'll have 25 years in the ground because they're not freshly cut. They've been sitting on the ground for a couple of years, but even so, let me try to find a spot that has some soil fungus on it. Well, I can't find a spot, but here's just my knife isn't sticking into it as it would a punky piece of wood. So that goes to show you the rot resistance. These have been sitting on the ground for like 5 years, maybe. So yeah, just another way to make money from your land and try to answer a question a little bit, I guess. What are you breaking up?
Chocolate. Next chocolate.
We are about halfway done. Well, actually exactly halfway done with the pier work. We've got 6 of them in, and we have 6 more to go. 2, 2, and 2. It's the easy part's over now, because all these piers had piles of dirt, near them. So now gets into the wheelbarrow work, which makes it a little bit slower. But we've only been working on it, a couple hours a day. This has taken up. We've done 2 piers a day, so they probably only take an hour and a half each, maybe. and so far it's gone pretty smoothly. The only hiccup we ran into is because of the holes weren't exactly, they were basically like as on as they could be, the holes themselves, but the shapes were a little funky sometimes. So these piers are supposed to be 8 feet on center running this way, and those two are 8 feet, and the gap between this one and this one's like 10 feet, and you know, so that one's a little bit smaller, but that shouldn't affect it too much structurally because we're going to stagger the seams of our piers, the seams of our sills. So let me come in and show you. So like I talked about before, we're going to carve a little saddle into here, kind of like, you know, 2 inches wide on either side, so the sills can sit. So we're going to stagger the seams for our sills. We're probably going to have like 2 12-foot sills on this side, and 3 8-foot sills on this side. So, and they'll be bolted into these piers, so that shouldn't really affect it too much structurally. So all we gotta do is put these other piers in, backfill the holes, tamp them pretty good, and then we can get started on sill work. And it's a little bit cooler today. The last few days it's been like 90 degrees, so it's like 70 something today, and there's some cloud cover, which is really good. We got a good rain this morning, which we really needed. Like I've talked about before in other videos, it's definitely a droughty year, so everything got a nice soak in today. The gardens are looking good. So we're gonna maybe take a break for some water, maybe some coffee, and we will get to work later today too. So we got all 12 piers in, and we're pretty happy with them. The only one that's slightly off place is this one. We talked about this before in the other shot. It's just a little bit more this way than it should be, but I don't think that'll affect it structurally. So the next part is we got some lines on these posts, and this is basically, so this is the lowest pier that we have, and we're going to cut it just so it's flush right there at that line, that yellow line, and we're going to cut all the rest of them to that level. So the way we did that is we've got some vinyl tubing here. I'm not going to show you how it works because it's tough with one person, and it was super frustrating to get all these lines done, but it was better than spending, you know, $400 or $500 on a transit or whatever. And it's actually a little bit more accurate than a transit in some ways because you can level around corners and stuff. So yeah, basically the way we did that is, you know, we marked this line, then there was water in this tube. So this is the water level, basically. Supposed to be an ancient tool, but I don't know how they used it back in the day because I know they didn't have vinyl tubing. So maybe they used animal intestines or something. But anyway, yeah, so there was water in this tube. So we would follow the water line. The idea is water is always level, no matter what. It's just a law of physics, basically. So we would line the water level or the meniscus up with this line, and depending on where it was, I would tell Shakoi, who was on the other end, I'd say, Shakoi, you need to go up or down. So if the water level is down here, she would need to bring her end of the tube up, so then that would meet, and then wherever the water level, wherever the meniscus was on the other end, is where this water level is. So that's just a way of leveling all these off. So I'm gonna sharpen the chainsaw real quick so it makes it easier to cut these. Probably have to sharpen it a couple times because we cut one just to test how it was to cut it out. Actually, we cut two, and it was super tough to cut through these because they're like chemically treated. So yeah, the chainsaw was just kind of fighting it. So I'm gonna sharpen it. Probably sharpen it a couple times. I just cut my finger sharpening it, so it should be pretty sharp. The only, you know, issue that we're kind of running into is the posts on this side, which is the east side, are really low. So we have 2x8 sills that we're going to put on either side. So we're going to cut at these bottom lines because we fudged on these ones, so we had to remeasure. And so it's these bottom lines. So this is from here to the ground is only like 11 inches. So, and we really want the sills a little bit higher up off the ground to prevent rot. So I really only think this front row is going to be an issue. So what we'll have to do is, like right here, we'll just have to move some dirt excavate some dirt, just kind of pull it out on either side, and then it'll be high enough up off the ground. So this one's not really that far, not that far off the ground, but like I said, we can just move a little bit of dirt here, and then as it moves down this way, there's plenty of clearance. So the idea is we want to have a crawl space underneath, because we don't have running water, and we didn't install a hot box, which is like a insulated box underneath the ground where you can run your water lines. It's like 4 feet under the ground, so under the frost level, so you can run your water lines. We don't mind having like a spigot outside our house. We've also talked about, somewhere over here, because the kitchen's going to be in this area. Hi, goaties. The kitchen's going to be in this area, and we've talked about burying like a 275 gallon tank, or maybe even a couple 55 gallon tanks or something like that, and then running our water lines into there, so then we can fill that up, have that reservoir, and then have a pump to bring that up into the kitchen, maybe a hand pump or something. So we're gonna cut these, and we'll make the seat cuts for the sills, and then we'll shoot back to you. Hi, goaties.